Okay, recording.
I got it. Wait.
Oh. Got it. Got it. All right. Okay, I've muted you. So if you need anything, just unmute yourself. But you're going to be familiar with everything that we do this evening. So I'm going to come down onto the floor and do it with you. And I need to get a block, one blanket, one block, one bolster. And let's start on our back. And I'm going to open my blanket up, just one open, so that I have a little extra cushion under my spine. But if you are on a plush floor or a plush rug, you do not have to do that. It's up to you. So we hold, I believe, a great deal of tension in our hips and our lower back. And often what's out of sight is out of mind, until it flares up and starts to sass us, of course. So just begin letting our body drop into the floor, kind of emptying before we start. And if your knees are bent, you can rest your knees against one another. Or if you'd like to straighten your legs, go ahead and take your legs down on the mat and see how that feels. Bring one hand to your belly and the other to your low ribs. Let your top teeth move away from your bottom teeth. Let your bottom teeth move away from your top teeth. Slightly unhinging your jaw, your TMJ. And take the tip of your tongue and place it at the roof of your mouth where your two front teeth meet your palate. And just softly let it land there. The lips might part slightly. That's fine. Keep your breath moving through your nose. Notice the relationship of your feet with one another. Do they feel balanced and in harmony with each other? Observe your tush, right buttock and left buttock, right SI, left SI. Does one half of your pelvis feel heavier, lighter, dense? And find your hip points, the ASIS. We think of them as our hip bones. And just simply notice the relationship of your hip bones to your lower ribs. And does one hip hike up a little higher than the other? Begin to deepen your breath, your inhalation. Linger a bit longer over your exhalation. And make this next breath in even deeper yet. And you can stretch your arms out to the side or over your head, arching your lower back away from the floor. Noticing what you feel along either side of your spine as you lift your low back. And then when you exhale, just let your body passively recoil back to its right shape. And from here, if your legs are straight, bend your knees and take your feet as wide as your mat. Take your arms out to the sides and maybe up just a little bit on the diagonal. And then when you inhale, you'll take your knees to the left. Oh. And when you exhale, you'll bring your knees back up through center. Your knees will sweep over to the right as you breathe in. Back through center as you breathe out. Just keep taking the knees from side to side. We begin to establish a bit more suppleness through the lower back. Simply pivoting on your heels. Mm. And we're going to finish this up the next time your knees drop to the right. That'll be it. Take your time. And you'll heel toe your feet back onto your mat. And check in before we do anything else. Just check in once again with your hips and your buttocks, your lower back. Notice what's different, what's shifted, if there's any parts or pieces that feel lighter or maybe a bit more invigorated now that we've got some blood flow into the low back and the sacrum. And pull your knees into your chest. Bring your hands to your knees. Cup your palms over your kneecaps with your fingers moving down the length of your shins. And when you breathe in, you'll gently push your knees away from your belly just until your arms go straight. And when you breathe out, bending your elbows, you'll bring your knees back to your chest. As you inhale and push the knees away, there's a little arching to your lower back. And as you exhale, there's a rounding as you kind of massage your lumbar vertebrae into your mat or your blanket. One more time. And keep your right knee into your chest. Set your left foot onto the floor. And with both hands around your right shin, draw your right leg in a little closer. Take 3 deep breaths, moving your breath, circulating your breath down through your lower abdomen so you get a felt sense of your belly rising up into your right thigh as you inhale and softly deflating as you exhale. Imagine your breath circulating around your ascending colon along the lower right side of your trunk. Good. Now place your hands around the back of your right thigh, clasp your fingers together, or maybe just take a hold of your pant legs. And you're going to send your right heel straight up to the ceiling. Let your right thigh bone, your femur bone, rest heavy into your hands. And flex your foot. Push up through your heel. Good. Now set your right ankle to the top of your left knee for reclining pigeon. You'll bring your left leg towards you. Clasp your fingers together around the back of your left thigh or maybe the top of your left shin, whichever grip allows you to keep your shoulders down on the floor. Draw the tip of your tongue back to that point where your palate meets the base of your 2 front teeth. And that action alone will often unhinge your jaw. Set your left foot to the floor. Keep your right ankle where it is. We're going to take our legs over to the left. So I like to have you shift your hips towards the right edge of your sticky mat, and then keeping this figure four shape with your legs. Drop your legs to the left. Reach down with your left hand and take a hold of your right foot or ankle. So you can plant your right foot on the floor and invite your right knee to move away from your left shoulder. Your right arm reaches out on the diagonal. Try to get as much space, as much length between your right hip and your right fingertips. Yay. Bring your legs back up, please. Ooh. Set your right foot to the floor. Oh. And this is where our bolster is going to come in handy. We've got one more to do before we start this whole thing over on the other side. I want you to kind of grab your bolster and toss it down the center of your mat between your feet. And so with your bolster lying on your mat between your feet, what happens next is your knees are still bent. You're going to walk your right foot off to the right, well off your sticky mat. And then you're going to drop your right knee down so it rests on your bolster. So you've got this pretty significant internal rotation in your right femur bone. And the bolster's there for support because we're going to stay here for a bit. So I don't want there to be any strain, really. And then your left foot can rest on the outside of your right knee. So you're kind of making this figure four shape again, but now it's the left ankle at the top of your right knee. And you can take your left arm straight up over your head to the floor. You can take your right arm out to the right. Glance up actually and see that your right thigh bone, your right femur is moving straight down the length of your mat, and it's not shifting inward or crossing the midline. Set your left foot to the floor. Slowly lift your right knee up. Bring your right foot onto your mat. Ooh. And we'll bring our knees to our chest again. Draw your knees in close. Take a little assessment between right leg, right hip, left hip. Cupping your hands over your knees. Inhale and push your knees away from your chest just until your arms go straight. And exhale, pull your knees back in. And keep going 3 or 4 more times, paying particular attention to what you feel in your lower back, paying particular attention also to the play or the pliability, the movement in your hip joints, noticing the difference between right leg, left leg. Now you'll keep your left knee into your chest and set your right foot onto the floor. And if you can work around the bolster, that's fine. You can leave the bolster where it is. And take 3 deeper breaths, just as we did on the first side. This side, imagining that you could circulate your breath around your descending colon. Circulate your breath around your left kidney. Placing your hands behind your left thigh or taking a hold of your pant legs, that's legal also. You'll send your left heel straight up, stretching your leg, opening up the back of your left knee. And letting your left thigh drop heavy into your hands. Set your left ankle to your right knee, reclining pigeon, or thread the needle. Sometimes it's called. Bring your right leg towards your trunk and clasp your fingers together at the back of your right thigh or the top of your right shin. I don't know if you can hear that, but my my husband's mowing the lawn and it's so loud. If you can hear it, just pretend that it's me purring. Okay, let's take right foot to the floor and keeping the shape in your legs, sweep your hips over to the left edge of your sticky mat, and then you can drop your legs over to the right. Ooh, let your left foot find the floor. Let your right hand find your left foot. And as you plant your left foot down on the floor, encourage your left knee to move away from your right shoulder. Now you can take your left arm up on the diagonal and give yourself a big stretch from your outer left hip all the way up to your arm, your hand, your fingers. Then bring your knees back up, legs back up through center. Set your left foot to the floor. Walk your left foot off to the left so that you can drop your left knee down onto the bolster, which is at the center of your mat. Then glance up and see that your left thigh bone is parallel to the long edge of your sticky mat. Good. And then if you like, you can place your right ankle, your right foot just to the outside of your left knee. Left arm out to the left, right arm up overhead. Just like the shoulder joint, the hip joint is a ball and socket joint. And it's technically designed to go in 6 specific ranges of motion: internal and external, abduction and adduction, flexion and extension. And this sequence focusing on the legs and the hips and the lower back checks all those boxes. Place your right foot on the floor. Slowly lift your left knee up. And bring your left foot onto your mat. Knees to chest one last time. Rock a little from side to side if that feels good, or kind of pulse your knees one at a time towards your chest. Good. I'm going to have you slide the bolster off to the side. We'll come to it in a moment. But before we do, I want you to roll onto your belly. And place your forearms out front, stack your hands, and then rest your forehead onto your hands. So this might seem pretty elementary or benign, but this is actually a spinal extension. There's a little bit of action going on in the lower back. And so you can stay here, or I'm going to give you an opportunity to lift your head and slide your forearms against one another. So you've got opposite hands at opposite elbows. And then just come up onto your forearms and your elbows, kind of like a Sphinx pose. And jiggle your bum a little from side to side so you're bum is relaxed and your legs are relaxed. We're going to stay here about another 30, maybe about 45 seconds. So you can come back down and rest your forehead on your hands, or you can walk your elbows and forearms just a step closer to your body so that your elbows are directly under your shoulders. And what that'll do is that'll just heighten your chest and upper back a little more, which will increase the extension of your spine. Be mindful, check in. If the lower back is not pleased with this at all, then definitely come down onto your forehead. And notice if your jaw is clenching. Find that space, that sacred space where your tongue meets the top of your front teeth. Terrific. Now, you'll slide your elbows out to the sides. Once again, come down to your forehead. I'm going to have you turn your head to the right. If you want to rest your head on your hands, you can, or take your arms in another shape. That's fine too. Relax your legs, wiggle your legs, your heels, jiggle your bum. And turn your head to the left. Bring your forehead to the floor or to the back of your hands. Well, and place your hands underneath your shoulders and prepare to lift up onto your hands and your knees. Rock back into child's pose. Stretch out your lower back. Feel the muscles along your spine. Open up, lengthen. Good. Sit yourself up, rising slowly. I'm going to have you take your blanket and you're going to roll it. Rolling a burrito, rolling a cigar, rolling a cigarette. Back in the day when we used to roll our own. Very European. And then you'll take your bolster to the head of your mat and you're going to lay your bolster over your block. Take your block to its low or maybe its second height. And, you know, the reasoning, the difference between whether you go low or to the second height is if your lower back is giving you some sass, then you'll take your block a little higher. Because what that'll do is alleviate the extension of your spine. The lower the block or the lower the bolster, the more of a back bend you'll get in your lower back. So you choose what feels appropriate for your back on this particular time in space. And then you're going to have a seat with your back to your bolster set up. The blanket's going to come underneath our knees. And then we're going to roll our spine over the bolster. And then I want you to position the blanket so that you could bring your heels together and let your knees drop out to the sides and let the blanket support your knees, the outer knees, kind of the outer thighs as well. Okay, and the belly can be open and soft. In fact, bring your hands to your belly. Just give yourself a little around the clock massage, just going in the direction of digestion. Sorry to say, I don't know if that's clockwise or counterclockwise, but going up the right side across at the low ribs and then down the left side. So just very gently pressing a little bit here and there, inviting your belly to be soft and loose, relaxed and supple. No tension. As you gently go around in circles a couple of times with this soft palpating, you might hear some gurgling, feel some murmuring. Good. And then when you feel pretty good about your belly being soft, you can bring your hands out to your sides and turn your palms up so that we can complete our practice in a gesture of being open and receptive. And place your tongue once more at the base of your top front teeth where the teeth meet the palate. Invite your breath to fill your lungs fully and completely. The front, the side, the back. And even visualizing where your lungs, the medial lungs, where they meet up with your spine. Can we expand our lungs towards the center of our body with as much intention as we expand our lungs laterally? Take another deep and rich breath in. Expanding your lungs in all directions, and at the end of that exhalation, let your breath become lighter and softer. No more manipulating. Allow it to find its own pattern, its own print. And at that point, if you want to take your legs straight, that would be fine. Or if you want to keep them in the diamond shape, whatever feels right for your knees and your low back. And we take the emphasis away from the breath and place it now on inviting the body to just drop with every exhale, becoming heavier along the back body, sinking deeper into the props, the mat, the floor, the earth, and lighter and more subtle along the front body. So it's time to bring our practice to a close. You are welcome to stay where you are and enjoy this shape, this opportunity to rest and restore for another 5 or 10 minutes or as long as you'd like. Or you can begin to stretch and move and become more intentional with your breath once again, intentional with the placement of your body. Good. And then coming up to sitting, bring your 2 hands together, base of your thumbs to your third eye. Our practice on the mat brings us flexibility in the body. May it also bring us flexibility in our minds. Bring your fingertips to your lips. And may it provide the ability to be flexible in our speech. And then our hands to our hearts. And maybe cultivate this opportunity on the mat and on the screen with each other to find flexibility in our hearts. Thank you for joining me.